Cool. So you're Angelica Dueñas, candidate for California's 29th district. Can you tell us a little bit about yourself, your district, why you're running?
Yeah, absolutely. So yes, my name is Angelica Dueñas. I'm running for Congress here in California's 29th congressional district, which is the East San Fernando Valley, which is part of Los Angeles. And I'm running a 100% people-powered campaign. We are running against Tony Cardenas, who is a corporate Democrat who has been around for a very long time. At one level or another, he has represented our community since 1996. He has been in Congress for about 8 years now. Before that, he was a part of the Los Angeles City Council for about 10 years. And before that, he was part of the State Assembly for about 8 years. So he's been around for a very long time, and our community has very little to show for it. And unfortunately, our community has a number of representatives that kind of have worked together to get to their positions, but unfortunately have done very little for the community and very much, grown and become career politicians and really just benefited themselves and their pockets at the end of it all. So since it's a very corporate field that we have here in Los Angeles in the San Fernando Valley, it's really hard to get people to run against these people because it's an uphill battle. It's a tough fight, and it's not going to be easy. And that's the main reason why I'm running. After for looking for community leaders back in 2017, we couldn't find anybody who was willing to run and who was willing to also fight for the issues that we cared about. And so this is actually my second run. In 2018, I ran as a Green Party candidate, and we did okay under the circumstances. But the Green Party is a very tiny party.
Yeah.
It was 0.3% of the registered voter back in 2018, but we got 6.5% of the vote. So under the circumstance, we did pretty good. This time around, we knew that Bernie Sanders was going to be running, so we decided to go ahead and run Democrat and to really be in a position to help out Bernie in any which way possible. And so this time around, we're running as Democrat, and on March 3rd, which was the primary here in California, we ran, it was 4 candidates total, and we were able to make it to second place. And here in California, it's the top 2 system, so regardless of parties, first place and second place makes it over to the general election. So Tony Cardenas, who's a Democrat, and ourselves, who are also Democrat, will be facing it head-on, one-on-one in November.
Interesting. And as someone who did vote Green actually for Jill Stein in 2016, I think it's really cool that you were that you ran as a Green Party candidate in 2018, and also that you were Jill Stein's Southern California campaign coordinator in that 2016 run for the presidency. Can you tell us a little bit about that experience? Yes. And also, what do you think about the prospect of voting Green this year in 2020 for president for candidate Howie Hawkins, who we actually talked to just a few weeks ago on this podcast?
Mm-hmm. Well, I think the experience that with the Jill Stein campaign was great. I learned a lot with utilizing tools and resources, and really learning how to run a campaign, and a little bit of a little part that I did have, just because this was a presidential campaign. It was a lot that went on into it. So the little piece that I got to work in, which was with outreach here in the Southern California, getting resources out to people, activating volunteers and things like that. I think it was a great opportunity. I think that I did learn that, sometimes a campaign is not able to meet the challenge and vice versa, you know what I mean? Where what I found in the Jill Stein campaign was that there was steps that they wanted to do, like, there's ABC or 1, 2, 3, and there's these check boxes they really wanted to check off, and procedures that they wanted to have in place that actually really slowed things down in regards to like on the field and getting work done. So I did also learn too, like what not to do, and what doesn't work. You know what I mean? So I think it was a great experience. I met a lot of people, and I think the Green Party has an amazing platform. It's just beautiful and almost perfect.
Yeah.
And I really love the Green Party platform. In regards to who I am endorsing for president at this point, um, I haven't gone there yet. I still have to do my research. But I think that the Green Party platform is really one of the most progressive and really well pieces that we have in the electoral system here in the U.S. And I think that it's something that more people should really become familiar with, because I'll be honest, even as I have a bachelor's degree in political science, public administration, and even as having a degree in political science, we never covered third party. We didn't really cover it at all, honestly. And so I had a lot of misconceptions of what the Green Party was about up until 2016. So I think that the Green Party platform is something that people should just become familiar with, even if it's to get ideas, as to what a truly a party can look like. And I do believe that we need to strengthen third parties at all levels. And I think that, even on the right, I think it's a good thing to have choices and more voices and more people at the table. So I think on the right, people should also be doing their thing and trying to, get a corporate free, party for themselves. I think that, regardless of where you come from, or where your ideas are, at the bottom of it all, I think most people do want to help and be good. And I think that getting money out of politics is a very important. So I think on all levels, people should be really fighting for change and a revolutionary change. And in the meantime, utilizing the tools that we have now to make that change happen. So I really hope that the Green Party, or any of these amazing third party can make it to the 5%. That 5% voter threshold that they are seeking out. And if people don't know what the 5% means, is if a third party candidate, presidential candidate, for example, were to get 5% of the vote, then they would qualify for matching funds, which means like, millions of dollars come the next presidential election, which would then empower third party and to really be giving a voice to those that, are speaking out on these issues that matter. And I think that is super important to get that out there. And again, I think on both sides, people should be fighting for that. So I really, really do hope that in 2020, the dissatisfaction that people have on both sides of, like, I guess the duopoly, which is the Democrats and the Republicans, maybe that could really empower third parties, and maybe we can get the Libertarians and the Greens hitting that 5% minimum, and maybe come 2024 we can have some real dialogue and discourse happening and real changes, because I believe that until we have real power outside of the duopoly, that's the only way we're going to have real change happen. Like, that's the only way. And I think that doesn't discredit the work that people are doing within the, like, for example, that I'm familiar with, the Democratic Party, people who are trying to like make the change from within. I think that's super great, valid, and commendable, and it should be happening. but at the same time, we need to also give credit to those folks that are doing organizing outside of the parties with the Greens and the movement for the People's Party.
You're running as a Democrat in this election. One of the things that we wanted to talk to you about is you describe yourself as a mom on Twitter, as a mom, wife, activist, and rape survivor. And you've been an ardent champion of women's issues throughout your campaign. I wanted to talk to you a little bit about the Democratic presumptive nominee, or as far as we know now, he's crossed the delegate threshold and will be the nominee, Joe Biden. Who has been accused by Tara Reade, along with a number of other women, of sexual misconduct, as well as I believe Tony Cardenas, the man you're challenging, has also been accused of sexual misconduct. Could you talk about how the Democratic Party has responded to rising figures who have sort of backgrounds of taking advantage of women, abusing women, etc.?
Yeah, absolutely. I think that it's really sad and like incredibly disappointing how hypocritical the reaction has been amongst Democrats, establishment Democrats, and those within the Democratic Party. And I think it just really just reflects, or it really makes it clear that both Democratic Party and the Republican Party have lost touch with the people. They have been, they have been bought out. We have been sold out, and they are now representing of us. I think that it's very, very telling how you have people who were very vocal when other elected officials were accused of sexual assault or inappropriate behavior, and turn it around and be very complacent when it comes down to Democrats being accused of the same thing, even worse, or with even more corroborating, evidence. For example, in the Tara Reade case, where we have people who are tearing her down and finding just about anything and everything to tear down her character, which, who is the perfect victim? If anything, what they're doing is undoing so much work that the Me Too movement was able to establish within a matter of months. And it's really sad and gross to really see it. And I feel that what they are doing is putting women of color, pushing them forward, and having these women fight the fights that Joe Biden really needs to be doing and clarifying. And it's really sad. It's gross, and it just shows how we people of color and women are utilized. Both in many ways, and both to discredit and to I don't know, like to clarify or to even give credit to situations. And it's really, to me, it's very obvious. And I think that during the primaries or earlier in the primary season, when we had people talking about candidates and political commentators and stuff, they were discussing, if they didn't, if either of the candidates didn't clinch the nomination, about the voting process, and would it be okay for it during the convention to select a candidate that was not the main vote getter, and so my thing on that was like, look, if we are talking about an accused sexual predator with credible accusations and with corroborating, evidence and etc., see, that is when you use that tool. That's when you use that card of let's, push for someone else. And I think that was the perfect reason to be able to utilize that. Or if someone's sick, right, also, or maybe mentally incapable of holding the position, right? Like maybe that could be a reason why you want to replace somebody. So I really think that the Democratic Party, being as how out of touch and completely, corporate and sold out that they are, just miss that completely. Miss that opportunity to be a party that stands for something, and rather than just, not Trump.
Yeah,
Because, come, November, being not Trump, I don't know if that's going to be enough in these swing states.
yeah, I totally agree, and especially with the kind of performative response that we saw to the allegations that were coming towards Brett Kavanaugh, which were equally credible in my opinion. And now it all does look so performative in retrospect. Now that we've seen how the party has kind of dealt with the allegations of Tara Reade, which are at least as credible as those of Dr. Christine Blasey Ford.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and I totally agree that it's really put their hypocrisy on full display, especially considering that they've kind of defined their opposition in Donald Trump as this kind of boorish and misogynist character, which he absolutely is. It's really unfortunate
Exactly.
that we've propped up another abuser, another predator as the alternative. So yeah, thank you for speaking about that. And as a working mother yourself, someone from a working class background, it's so rare that working people are able to run for Congress because of the financial commitment setbacks, all of that. Can you talk about some of the obstacles that average citizens such as yourself face when running for office, and what kind of a fresh perspective your voice would bring to the House of Representatives?
Yeah, I mean, well, it definitely has been a challenge during the primary um, election, or during the primary, I guess, campaigning process. I was working full time for a good majority of the time. And so, I mean, it definitely made campaigning and getting to places and making appearances and having events, charter, because, well, one, of time, exhaustion, and three, just resources. So it definitely makes things harder. I mean, most people are either full time dedicated to the campaign, and they're able to, since they have so much corporate money coming through, able to pay themselves through the campaign and, just kind of be the candidate or be a candidate. Um, and so it's different. It's definitely different. And with coronavirus, the pandemic, it's made things, on the flip side. So I'm not working right now. So my husband also was laid off. So actually, right now, we had, well, right now, unemployment. So it's actually looking, it's better than before. But for a good month and a half of fighting with unemployment and waiting for things to come through was scary. So the thought of, like, the fear of how are we going to get through this? Is this going to be a viable thing? Is what am I doing here? How am I expected to run for Congress and help my community when I can't even, I don't know what I'm going to do myself. How am I going to pay my bills? How, are we not going to be, able to just, survive? So it was really scary, and it still is, because we're not hearing about any real solutions. It's just like all these band-aids that are coming through. So I think it's a it's a feeling of being unstable, and it's really scary. And at the same time, it's like, I don't know, I almost feel like I'm being fake, in the sense that I also am going through all these things, but I'm trying to show people that, we come together, we can organize. At the same time, I'm going through these struggles, right? And I'm also scared, and I'm also concerned. So in reality, I'm not fighting for my community. I'm fighting with my community. Like, this is a fight that we're fighting, side by side, hand in hand. Because in reality, if we don't get real solutions, I'm right here with everyone else. We're in danger of literally losing, everything, if we can't get either our government or, our jobs back. Because what we're seeing is that even when the economy, quote unquote, reopens, or, the restrictions get lifted, there's no guarantee that our employers are going to be opening back up. We're hearing that over 40% of small employers are going to be permanently closing. So what is reopening going to look like? We have no idea. So these are real things that are coming that I don't know that our community is really that. I think we're all like on autopilot right now. It's just so shocking. But I'm more concerned about what's going to be coming up, next, when unemployment benefits get cut off, when we're not, going to get any more stimulus. I don't know if we are going to get anything else, but like when those aids get cut off, what's life going to look like then? I think it's just there's big catastrophe coming our way, and we really need to have people who um, are in positions and who have close relations with people who are in these positions of losing everything to really be in a conscious place to be able to make decisions that would really benefit the people. Because what we're seeing here in these stimulus packages that have gone through is the world's biggest wealth transfer twice in a row, and like everybody let us down. Like every one of our representatives let us down, at least for one of those votes. And then so here we are again. What's going to happen? And Pelosi is shooting things down. Like, so we already know where the Republicans stand on these things, but the Democrats, just in the same, are not wanting to really make some real solutions happen for that really will benefit the people.
Yeah,
so
and I think
it's just so scary.
Yeah, and I think your closeness to the issues and the lived experience that you're currently living brings an authenticity to your leadership and to your campaign, and also in a way you understand the urgency that people feel who are actual working people. On the Hill, it's so often they kick the problem down the road and it balloons. People don't have time to kick this down the road any further, and I think that having more working people such as yourself on the road to Congress is certainly the right path. And not to use one sort of a tragedy, disaster, and to segue into another. But I mean, we're facing multiple crises in this country, and you're running for Congress in the 29th district, which is just outside of Los Angeles, and some of the largest protests in the country have erupted. People are demanding change on all levels, not just economic, but also from the over-policing and the violence that is committed against our communities of color at an overwhelming and alarming rate. You yourself have called for a defunding of the police via the People's Budget LA, I believe. Could you tell people what that is and how you imagine policing and public budgeting moving forward?
No, I think that we really need to cut the budget. The police here in Los Angeles get over, oh gosh, no, I probably might get that. I think I want to say
50%, I believe,
plus of our budget outright. So we definitely need to defund. We need to start funding programs that benefit the people, and to start implementing programs that lift up our community, give youth the opportunities to advance, to improve, and to really improve our community at the same time. As to what, honestly, I'll be honest, I don't know what. I'm paying a lot of attention. I'm reading articles. I'm looking at what other cities are doing, as to see like what would a policeless society look like, or what would a defunded police or peace officer, league or whatever, what would it look like if we were to defund the police? What would the replacement system look like? You know what I mean? And I'm very, very interested in hearing the community programs and the implementation of replacement. I know the city of Minneapolis is working a lot right now in dismantling their police. So I'm very interested in seeing as to what that would look like, because I am not an expert. But I it's like kind of what they say is like, you don't have to be a rocket scientist, right, to tell that there's something's not right there. The same thing with this, like there's something not right with police department, the culture, how it's just outright, like, across the board, across the nation, we're seeing that the abuse is multifaceted. It's really just ingrained in the culture of the police department. So we definitely need to change things. There needs to be a culture change. I don't know what that replacement will look like, but I think that that's something that we need to pay attention to, similar to like reparations. These are big, big, big problems, systemic things that need to be looked at by experts so that we can really address.
On a more macro level or micro level, I wanted to ask you about the curfew.
Really big and complicated.
Oh, sorry. I think we might have been out of sync for a second.
Oh, sorry.
Oh no, you're totally fine. Just to follow up on that, I've seen a couple of your tweets critiquing the use of curfews in Los Angeles. I know there's been a lot of poor scheduling, people finding out moments before.
Yeah, it was so weird the whole time. Yeah, absolutely.
The curfew has begun. Could you talk about that and how that's been unfolding in your community?
Yes, so for a while there, we had these curfews that were being enforced here in LA City and LA County. There were days where we would get the alert like 30 minutes, an hour to 30 minutes before the actual curfew was going to be in place. So imagine if you're at work and maybe you don't have anything anything to eat at home. You were going to grab dinner for the kids on the way home. Like all of these things, all of these plans, childcare, you need to get to somewhere else, you have an appointment, etc. All of these things were implemented with very strange timing. Sometimes we had the county, LA County, saying one time, like let's say, I can't remember the exact example, but like for example, let's say LA County's a curfew was at 5 p.m. and the city of Los Angeles curfew would be at 6 p.m. So it was like, okay, so how is this going to be implemented? How is this going to be applied? So there was a lot of confusion. And at the end of it all, it got a lot of people in trouble, peaceful protesters. And on top of that, just regular people who were walking home or just heading to where they needed to be that day, who were being caught up by these police officers and sheriffs in some cases, enforcing curfew. And so, and in some, it wasn't just as simple as, oh, you're going to get a ticket. We're talking about really just over the top abuse and just brutalization of people for simply being outside after 6 p.m. on a Wednesday. It's just incredibly just fascist and just, it was just out of this world. Something that I don't think, I never thought that I would see in my lifetime.
Yeah, me neither. And it basically seems like they've effectively criminalized protest via these curfews, which are, like you said, announced oftentimes at the last minute, and it basically just gives them an excuse to arrest whoever they want, and that's insane. And thank you for kind of speaking about how that's affected the community that you're surrounded with and the protests that you've found yourselves participating in.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And I should just add too, just how they were enforcing these curfews too. That was another thing. We were seeing people of color who were most affected by the enforcement of these rules that came about.
Yeah. Well, your campaign for Congress is entirely people powered. You only accept donations from grassroots, funding sources, small dollar donations. The same cannot be said for your opponent. In fact, you've said of him that he will not be able to hide behind a Republican opponent this time because you're running. Can you highlight some of the key differences in your campaign and funding styles, but also how you, the issues that you would forefront as opposed to his candidacy?
Yeah. Well, yes, we are 100% people powered. We are funded by individual donations from individual donors for like the most part. We did have one small donation from another grassroots campaign, their little pack. So we have like I think he donated, I think it was $600 or something like that. So other than that donation, everything else has been individual donors. For the most part, has been local.
Even
And
600 is far below the maximum the maximum amount you can donate. So that's hardly a corrupting influence, I would say.
Yeah, no, it's just it's just a bunch of us people who really care about the issues, right? So these are the people who are coming together and who are focusing on our campaign. So we are focusing on small donations, individual donors. Our opponent, Tony Cardenas, I believe over 70% of his donors come from super PACs, and I forget like the difference after that, like 30 something percent or 20 something percent come from major donors, so like individual donors that maxed out, right? And then there's I think 2% or so of his donations, or less than that, come from small donations. And very little of his donors even come from the district, or even like locally, just in general, Southern California. Most of his donations come from far away, and super PACs. And we can see that he doesn't really focus in our community when he is, well, right now with coronavirus, I think it really kind of changed things for everybody. But his fundraisers, for example, are either in Washington, D.C., or in other areas, like not in our district, either downtown LA in some like fancy restaurant, or like in Santa Barbara or something like that, in some fancy place. So it's definitely not community focused. It's not centered in our community as far as his campaigning style goes. He doesn't communicate with the people. It's not his priority. We are trying our very best, and before coronavirus shut things down, going door to door, talking to people, tabling, trying to make those one-on-one connections, and focusing on the issues, which is Medicare for all, Green New Deal, affordable housing as the right, tuition free, quality education, pre-K all the way to PhD, and including job training, for complete loan forgiveness, for school loans, things that would really affect and improve our communities right away. These are the issues that matter. These are the issues that people care about, and these are actually the issues that Tony has been avoiding, and you can see by who donates to him why he has been so quiet on these issues, because he's been purchased by the corporations. So I think it's time for some change. The people are ready for it. Our community is hungry for it, and I think it's special timing. I think everybody has that urgency, and we are able to, with very little resources, I think, have been able to do a good job of putting those issues forward and letting our community know that we're here, and ready for that fight.
And for people who want to support your campaign, can you tell them where they can support you?
Yes. So you want to check out our platform, which is on our website, which is angelica4congress.com, and either the number 4 or 4R will get you there, but it's Angelica, the number 4congress.com. And you can check out all of our issues, and there's a donate button right there. There's a sign up button right there as well too, if you want to sign up to volunteer, and or to stay up to date with our campaign and what we're working on, and all that good stuff. Yeah, the hard part, that was the hard part. And the people who pay attention to races, with our limited resources and the fact that we had a Republican in the race and all that stuff, they didn't think that we would have made it through, but we did. And that really shows that our community is ready for some changes.
Yeah.
And so I really hope that people can pay attention to our race, give us a hand. It's two Democrats head to head. There's no, danger of losing, going red or flipping or what have you. This is a fight for just like literally for things to get better.
Yeah.
And it's just such an amazing opportunity that doesn't happen often. It's a really hard fight to get to November, and we were able to make it happen with $10,000 and a handful of volunteers at any given moment. So imagine what we can do with some more resources and more people power.
Yeah.
It's literally so winnable. So we really need people to pay attention to this race right here and to just get behind us, because it's really attainable.
Totally. And I mean, if you're able to beat a Republican in the primary, I think you can beat a fake Democrat in the general, and we certainly hope that you can.
Angelica Dueñas.
Oh yes, thank you.
Yeah, thanks so much for joining us today. We really enjoyed talking to you.
Thank you so much for having me. I look forward to coming back.
Yeah, have a great night. We look forward to speaking to you again too.
Thank you.
Have a good one.